Welcome back to Dark Souls. Now, before we leave the Undead Asylum, I'd like to say that if there's an area that you'd like to see before I'm going to get to it in the normal progression, or if there's a section you'd like to see a route past, do let me know in the comments, and I'll see what I can do about showing you how I get past it with another character. So, time to leave.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the Undead Asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
Welcome to Firelink Shrine. This is the starting area of the game, one of the largest safe zones, and a place you'll return to frequently as you play. Now, one thing you'll notice about this bonfire is that it gave us 10 rather than 5 flasks. This is because it's guarded by a firekeeper, who I'll be introducing you to shortly. The other thing we can do at the bonfires is level up, which we're going to do a little bit of now. Let's talk about attributes. Vitality gives you more hit points. Attunement increases the number of memory slots you have for spells. Endurance increases your stamina, and equally importantly, your equipment load. I'll demonstrate the effects of different equipment loads once we've got some more equipment to play with. The key thing to know right now is that the more you're carrying, the slower you move. Strength increases the amount of damage you do with weapons, especially those with a strength scaling. Dexterity does the same for weapons with dex scaling. Resistance is useless. Intelligence increases your magic damage. Faith increases the effect of your miracles. Humanity is an attribute that you gain during play rather than put points in. For now we're going to do our vitality to bring it up to 10 because that's nice, our endurance and our dex. The next thing you'll find at Firelink Shrine are NPCs, starting with this chap, the crestfallen warrior.
Well, what do we have here? Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, but there's no salvation here. Well, since you're here, there are actually 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the Undead church. The other is far. Ring them both. Not much to go on. So, off you go.
Yes, so this guy is sort of your guide through the first part of the game, in so much as Dark Souls guides you through anything. It's worth talking to him every time you achieve something in the game and find yourself back here, because he'll probably have something new to say. The other thing is that, as is common in JRPGs, always talk to NPCs.
Ah, your face. You're practically hollow.
Until you've exhausted everything they have to say to you.
What? Well, there are a few collected bit by bit from core. And the quickest way, although I'd never do it, is to kill a healthy undead and pillage its humanity, coveting thy name.
Now, Dark Souls lets you attack any NPC. They will generally give you a bit of warning before they get too pissed off with you. It's generally not a good idea to attack this guy.
Stop that!
Because, especially at our level, he's quite tough.
Azura! You some nerve. I may be crestfallen, but I'm not defenseless, you rascal!
And if he kills you,
Regret this.
he's going to attack you every single time you spawn at this bonfire. Which obviously isn't the best thing in the world.
That's just embarrassing.
He's right, it is really bloody embarrassing. I should have known better than to do that because he was in his parry pose. Some enemies have a parry pose, but now you'll see what I mean about the bonfire being fucked until you kill him. And now you've just killed one of the few friendly NPCs in the world. You monster. And all for a measly 1,000 souls.
Well, coveting rent.
Well, here we are in an alternate reality where I didn't kill this guy.
What? Don't try.
This is a message from another player.
Oh, that's... Well, listen. One of the bells is up. You'll have to climb the stairs up the ruins and access the Undead Burg through the waterway. The other bell is back down below the Undead Burg, within the plague-infested Blight Town. But I'd die again before I step foot in that cesspool.
And despite that, people still go the wrong way.
What is it now? You ask too many questions. Well, I'm not up for... I'm not up...
Yep, so he's done. Now the next person to meet here is in a cage down here. This lady, Anna. She can't talk. Her key purpose is to upgrade your Estus flask, for which you need firekeeper souls. We will be getting one very shortly. Upgrading your Estus flask makes it heal you for more. The third member of our merry band in the Firelink Shrine is Petrus, through here.
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted. I am Petrus of Firelink. Have you business with us? If not, I'd prefer to keep a distance, if possible.
Now, this guy is a bit of an arse.
Hello there. I realize, but I also want... Here. No, go ahead.
He gives you a shiny, shiny coin.
Oh my.
I'll show you the description and
You're
let's see if
here.
you can work out why that makes him an
I know.
arse.
I have to await my So what if I were to teach you some miracles?
So, yes, we want to learn
Very well.
miracles. In this case, you aren't in a covenant at the moment. Covenants are like little groupings that have different game mechanics. His covenant is the Way of the White, which is supposed to be a PvE covenant and increases your chances of teaming up with members of the same covenant. Some people also say it makes you less likely to get invaded, but I don't think there's numbers either way on that. Anyway, if you want to learn miracles early on in the game, and you didn't start as a cleric, you have to join his covenant.
Now let me share my miracles.
Though you can also find...
Their ultimate effectiveness will be determined by your efforts and your faith.
You can find miracles in the game, but you won't find the ones he sells. So the first thing we need to do is learn his gesture, which is how to shrug. And now, let's look at the miracles. He sells a variety of spells, mainly healing, and also a couple of utility ones. Force is a spell that basically pushes things away from you. To use miracles, you need a catalyst. Now you could buy his catalyst, but there's no point because we can get one free very shortly. So we're just going to leave him for now. We can
My
talk to him.
companions are She is young. We are her defenses. An undead mission? Regrettably, but you...
Now, if you pay him, he gives you more plot. Just going to leave that for now. If you walk away from a prompt, it doesn't say yes or no, it just cancels it. The last thing to do in Firelink Shrine, the penultimate thing to do in Firelink Shrine is scour it for loot. Starting with these items here that you probably had your eye on. Three, humanity. Humanity is used to turn yourself non-hollow and kindle bonfires. When you're human, you can summon other people to help you, but you're also open to being invaded by players and in a few locations, NPCs. Now, Firelink Shrine has lots of loot scattered around. It's about the only place in the game where you are going to find unguarded loot, at least unguarded loot without a trap. It also teaches you a really bad habit. That is, it's safe to jump down holes. It is not normally safe to jump down holes. These things are used to invade other people's worlds. They're a consumable version of the item that invaders use. And here is why I said not to buy a talisman from him, because you get one for free down here. The Morningstar is a club type weapon that does bleed damage, a bit like our knife, but we're not strong enough to use it. homeward bones that warp you back to the last bonfire you rested at without you losing any of your items. They can also be used in boss fights and other bad places. Lloyd's talismans are thrown at things and stop them using Estus flasks. They're normally used in PvP but can be useful in PvE. Down here we have a graveyard and skeletons. We're just going to run away from now to reset that one. There's also an awful lot of loot in the skeleton, so we're going to be doing a loot run through it. Whilst it is possible to fight the skeletons, they're really not worth the time and energy it would take us to do so at this level. If an enemy is too close to you at a bonfire, it won't ignite. So, I'm sure you saw a bit more loot as we ran past there, so let's go and collect it and then go and do our probable suicide runs to his graveyard. Oh, this chest here is where any plot critical items you drop end up, so that you don't lose them. Another bit one down here. So many nooks and crannies here. I have probably missed something, so if you're playing yourself, feel free to go and explore. This path up here is the way we actually have to go to continue onwards with the game, but we've got a lot of collecting things to do at the moment. Now, the graveyard. A lot of new players to the game accidentally make this their first stop. And discover it's full of pretty tough skeletons. You'll notice I'm not fighting the skeletons. Also full of loot. You see the skeleton? Yeah, we're died here. That's expected on this run. We have 3 more items to get here. The binoculars, which is why I said you should never take them as a gift. The Zweihander, which is a massive 2-handed sword, which we won't be able to use yet. And a winged spear, which is an okay spear. So, first up here. Now the weapons are at the big tombstones. Also at the big tombstones are big skeletons. They are huge, so when they are alive I'm sure they had huge guts. And finally down here we have the binoculars. Do not stop to admire the view. It'll be the last thing you do. Gravity, our old friend. Right, there's no reason to go back down there because we've gotten everything. So that leaves the second of the 3 ways out of the shrine. Which is down here, past Anna. And down this little staircase. Do not fall off the edge. Lord Rand does not believe in health and safety. brings us out into New Londo, which is a late game area. As you can tell, it's not a happy place. Whilst there's some loot scattered around here, our main purposes for coming here are to pick up a firekeeper soul and visit an NPC. So down here, past this one lying down, you have another staircase. Walk carefully because it just ends and your character can't swim. In here...
Well, this is unusual. You haven't lost your head. And more importantly, well, I'm Ricky. I was once in a... Can you... Have you? It's safe, although I'll show...
Let's just talk to him first before I talk...
What is it? There's nothing. We're both cut.
Yep, that's it. Okay. So what Rickett does is he can make your items into magic if you've got any suitable for it. He can reinforce your weapons and armor, which increases the damage they do if you look. Making our bandit knife +1 would make it do 61 damage. Again, we don't have the materials for that now. But since the materials to enhance weapons can be found in the first proper area, which is before we meet the first in-sequence blacksmith, it's useful to know about this guy if you feel like giving your weapons a bit of a boost early on. Reinforcing armor is just the same as reinforcing weapons, but is a much lower priority because our armor doesn't actually do that much. You can also repair your equipment. The final thing he does is he sells some basic spells and the tool you need to use them, a catalyst. In this case it is worth buying it because you won't find your first free one for quite a while. If you started as a sorcerer, you'll have got the soul arrow spell. If you didn't start as a sorcerer and you want some magic, you can pick it up here and now. If you have 2 of the same spell attuned, you get double the number of casts. But anyway, we can't afford anything, but we will be doing stuff. Getting some things from here. Right. The firekeeper soul is out there in the water, but before we go there, I'm just going to show you one last thing. If you come up here, since we have the master key, we can open this door from this side. If we didn't have the master key, it would give us one of those does not open from this side messages. What we have here in the Valley of the Drakes is the back entry to Light Town, which the Crestfallen Warrior told us about. Most people who play this game on subsequent playthroughs, if they don't like Upper Blight Town, they will take the master key and come through here and do what we need to do through the back door. The other route through the Valley of the Drakes is along this tiny, tiny little path. Where we have a big thing and some treasure. The treasure here is a shield that's good against fire, a large soul item, and a holy sword. As you may expect, they're not exactly unguarded. So we're going to leave them. So I don't really want to ruin everything for you guys. I say, and if anybody wants to see a Let's Play that's about watching a newbie go through the game, I can thoroughly recommend Kay Plays Dark Souls. She's incredibly entertaining to watch. She's smart. She doesn't play the game like an idiot, which is a downside of a lot of blind Dark Souls Let's Plays. And she plays the game right, basically. She looks at everything, she thinks about things, and she usually makes the right decisions. Another bit of loot here is the Estoc, which is a long rapier type weapon. I actually quite like it, though a lot of people say it's shit. Let's see if we can both wield it and the knife without going over my equipment load. Yes, we can. So like, it has a totally different set of moves from the knife. We have light attack, heavy attack, jumping attack. Unlike the knife, we don't have a kick. We have one of those. Curved swords also don't have a kick. They have a really elaborate backflip thing. Backstep attack. And finally, rolling attack. So now it's time to go for our firekeeper soul. Oh, these things, transient curses, they are what let you fight the enemies native to this zone, but we're not going to be fighting them because this is a late game zone. What we are after is the glow in that ruin there. So, this is a suicide run. Just ignore all the enemies. Hang a right here. Run along this tiny path. Ignore the enemies. Pick up the corpse and probably die horribly. Yeah, there we go. Nearly made it. So, but the key thing is that we got the firekeeper soul. What we do now is we head down here and we tell her to reinforce the Estus flask. Now it's an Estus flask +1 and it will heal more. Now we take the final and proper route out of Firelink Shrine, which is up these little stairs. Okay, the real Dark Souls starts here. When you enter a new area, stop if you can, look around. Never run into an area. So what can we see here? We've got a guy ahead of us, a guy on the, and 3 guys up there. Creep a bit more forwards and we see another guy down there. This guy comes straight for us. Whilst he's doing that, this guy jumps off the cliff. Now, there's no point really trying to parry these guys because their attack patterns are really strange. This guy at the back will stand still and ignore us unless we go for the treasure he's guarding. But before we do that, we want to deal with the guys up here. Because this guy throws fire bombs. Before we deal with him. And by the time we've dealt with him, this guy's probably walking down the stairs. Or not. Yeah, see, there's just no point trying to parry these dudes. He's dropped a cracked round shield. It's not very good, so we're not going to compare the stats. If we were feeling... and here's a blood stain. When you touch a blood stain, you see how the guy who left it died. In this case, I predict falling off a cliff. Oh no. Looks like he just died normally. Now, if we're feeling really brave and stupid and suicidal, we could possibly try and do a plunging attack on this guy. In fact, fuck it, let's do it. Try bravery. A longsword. I like the longsword. It's a nice weapon. The nice thing about the longsword is its moveset. It shares the moves with the short sword and claymore. The reason I like the moveset is because you have slash on your normal attack, and you have a lunge on your strong attack. This gives you quite a bit of versatility. Large numbers of enemies, tight quarters. But let's just compare the longsword to our S-stock. So a longsword has scaling in C and C scaling. This means that my dex and my strength have an even effect on the amount of damage they do. Here's a broken one. Here's his Y-hander. This thing is lovely, but it's going to be a long time before I can use it. To use it single-handedly, I need a strength of 24. To use it in two hands, I need a strength of 16. Because 16 halved is 8. 8 plus 16 is 24. And to the S-stock. Now, the S-stock is, as you can see, basically worse than the longsword. It's got worse scaling, except in dexterity. And it does less base damage. So, it's not even lighter. So, whilst I like its moveset, we are going to go for the longsword. Now, we've got this one last bit of treasure here. You can jump off here, or you can fall down from the steps above onto it. Roll. I actually find the return journey more nerve-wracking. Let's see how this one died. That one died from falling off a cliff. Or we can cling to this wall and drop straight down, and we just land on the ledge. Okay, the item we picked up there is a ring of sacrifice, and what it does is if you die when you're wearing this, you don't lose your souls, but it breaks. You generally use it if you're carrying an awful lot of souls and it's been a long time since you last rested. Now, up these stairs, pick up that glowy there. Don't worry about the ominous snuffling. We're now in the aqueduct, the waterway that the crestfallen warrior talked to. First of all, oh yes, let's talk about why the longsword is good. We're in a closed area. When we slash, the sword goes clang and rebounds and doesn't swing very well. But we can still thrust effectively. So we're going to kill this rat. Pick up the thingy. This rat will not aggro unless you approach him. Finally, we stomp along here. This is a shortcut door. We ignore it for now. Turn into this little staircase. and welcome to Undead Burg.